Do you believe in werewolves?
I believe that a man lost in the mazes of his mind may imagine that he's anything.
Werewolves have haunted human imagination for thousands of years. Stalking through folklore and nightmares, they have embodied our darkest fears about the monsters that lurk under civilization's thin veneer, representing the eternal struggle between our civilized facades and primal instincts. Through decades of cinema, these creatures have undergone countless interpretations, from Lon Chaney Jr.'s tortured Lawrence Talbot to Oliver Reed's savage portrayal in Hammer's Curse of the Werewolf. The history of werewolf cinema has followed a unique trajectory, marked by periodic resurgences rather than sustained prominence. While vampires and zombies enjoyed consistent popularity, werewolf films emerged in distinct waves, each bringing fresh interpretations of the myth. The 1940s established the classical werewolf with Universal's The Wolf Man, creating enduring elements of the mythology. Hammer films reinvigorated the genre in the 1960s, bringing gothic sophistication and vivid color to lycanthropic tales. Yet it was the 1981 convergence of The Howling and An American Werewolf in London that truly revolutionized the genre, each film offering distinct perspectives on lycanthropy. The decades that followed brought varied interpretations. Neil Jordan's The Company of Wolves in 1984 reimagined werewolf mythology through a feminine lens, while Stephen King's 1985 film Silver Bullet explored small-town paranoia. Mike Nichols' Wolf, a decade later, elevated the genre with Jack Nicholson's sophisticated portrayal of professional anxiety mixed with aging and primal instinct. The new millennium saw fresh perspectives with Ginger Snaps, brilliantly recasting the werewolf transformation as a metaphor for female adolescence.
How do you feel? Wicked.
While Neil Marshall's Dog Soldiers in 2002 brought a military edge to creature horror. Benicio del Toro's brooding turn in 2010's The Wolf Man proved less transformative for the genre. It proved Hollywood's continuing faith in these mythic creatures. More recently, Universal Pictures tried again with Wolfman, directed by Lee Whannell, who had major success reinventing the Invisible Man in 2020. Wolfman starred Christopher Abbott, and even though this new take was unique, many thought it missed the mark. Can I ask if you're enjoying this video? You hit the like and subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Long before The Howling, or even cinema, the werewolf was already a shapeshifter in more ways than one. In medieval tales, it was a curse, or punishment. The French story of Bisclaveret told of a knight trapped in wolf form, while Eastern European legends link the transformation to pacts with the devil. By the 19th century, literature began to turn the curse inward. Clemence Hausmann's The Werewolf explored predatory allure, and Sabine Baring-Gould's The Book of Werewolves treated lycanthropy as both folklore and psychological disorder. These weren't just monster yarns. They were reflections of fear, temptation, and the thin line between control and compulsion. That lineage mattered. When Gary Brandner came along in the late 70s, he wasn't starting from scratch. He was tapping into centuries-old mythology, creating something modern. Moving the beast from misty villages to contemporary America, full of therapy sessions, city crime, and self-help culture. In 1977, when Brandner published his novel, it would help reinvent the werewolf genre. The Howling transported the traditional lycanthrope legend to contemporary California, weaving a tale of psychological trauma and primal violence. While the film would diverge significantly from its source material, Brandner's core concept of a remote colony harboring dark secrets provided the perfect foundation for what was to come. Joe Dante, fresh from his apprenticeship under Roger Corman and the success of Piranha, saw in The Howling an opportunity to blend horror with sharp social commentary and dark humor. When screenwriter John Sayles took on the adaptation, he dramatically reimagined Brandner's work while keeping its essential premise. The changes were substantial and purposeful, each serving to modernize and deepen the narrative. The first major transformation came in the protagonist's backstory. In Brandner's novel, Karen Beatty suffers trauma from a violent home invasion. Sayles' screenplay, renaming her Karen White, reimagined this as a traumatic encounter with serial killer Eddie Quist in a porn shop, adding layers of media exploitation and voyeurism that reflected growing concerns about urban violence and sensationalized news coverage. The second major change lay in the colony itself. Rather than Brandner's typical small town with a dark secret, Sayles reimagined it as a community built around self-help psychology and New Age healing. This revision, coming in the wake of the Jonestown tragedy, allowed the film to comment on the rising self-help movement while drawing explicit parallels to cult compounds. The addition of Dr. George Wagner, a character created for the film, embodied this new direction as a pop psychiatrist whose public persona masked sinister intentions.
John, you're beginning to sound like my book.
Finally, Sayles crafted a more ambitious and metatextual ending. While Brandner's novel concluded with Karen destroying the werewolf colony through fire, the film's finale saw Karen transforming on live television, exposing the truth about werewolves to a disbelieving public who dismissed the footage as special effects.
The news lady's turned into a werewolf!
This clever twist commented on media skepticism and society's willingness to reject uncomfortable truths, adding layers of social commentary absent from the source material.
Horror films, I think, are much more effective when they take place in a sort of a dream world. In movies are really just sort of dreams on film. And in order to really scare an audience, I think, as The Exorcist did, you have to appeal to very deep-seated fears.
The production took shape against the misty backdrop of Northern California, where cinematographer John Hora crafted a visual language that merged classic horror aesthetics with modern sensibilities. His camera prowled through dense forests surrounding the colony, transforming shadow and fog into characters themselves. Hora's technical innovations included creative use of the reverse dolly zoom, a technique pioneered by Alfred Hitchcock in Vertigo, which helped create the film's signature sense of psychological unease.
What's that?
I think the essential difference is that everybody that did the Howling was familiar with the Universal films. With the Universal films, I think would only have echoed legends and tales. Joe picked up on the rules of the werewolf and decided that would be a strong element to structure the story.
The choice of locations proved important in creating the film's atmosphere of isolation and hidden danger. Mendocino Woodlands Camp, with its rustic cabins and looming trees, perfectly embodied the story's themes of false sanctuary. The location's natural isolation and architecture provided a physical manifestation of the colony's separation from civilization, both geographically and philosophically. The casting process brought together an ensemble that proved important to the film's examination of trauma and power. Dee Wallace, still relatively unknown at the time, was chosen for her ability to convey both strength and vulnerability, essential qualities for Karen White, whose journey through trauma would anchor the film's darker themes. Wallace's performance captured the complex psychological states of a character, grappling with both external threats and internal transformation. Patrick Macnee brought patrician charm to Dr. George Wagner, deliberately evoking the charismatic cult leaders of the era.
And that's what makes this film so horrifying, is that the people in it are perfectly ordinary people until these startling and awful things happen. That's what I find exciting about the story.
The casting of Christopher Stone, Wallace's real-life husband, as Bill added authentic chemistry that made the film's later revelations even more devastating.
Hey, I got it. First shot.
Elizabeth Brooks's portrayal of Marcia served as a dark mirror to Karen's journey, a woman who had fully embraced her predatory nature rather than fighting against it. Brooks imbued Marcia with a dangerous sensuality that complicated the film's exploration of feminine power and sexuality. The supporting cast strengthened the film's ensemble nature. Belinda Balaski brought investigative determination to Terry Fisher,
Parker.
The one thing I like about Joe is that he's very loyal, and he tends to use the same people in movie after movie.
While Dennis Dugan provided emotional support as her partner. Robert Picardo's film debut as Eddie Quist created one of horror cinema's most memorable antagonists, a performance made more remarkable by its introduction of talent that would later achieve fame in Star Trek Voyager.
You said on the phone that you wanted to get to know me. Well, here I am, Karen.
The inclusion of genre veteran John Carradine in a cameo role provided a symbolic link to horror's golden age.
The real test of a good horror film or a monster film, I think, is to how good is it when the monster isn't on screen?
The film's groundbreaking special effects began with an unexpected personnel change when Rick Baker departed to work on An American Werewolf in London. This opened the door for 21-year-old Rob Bottin, whose youth belied his revolutionary vision. Bottin's approach to werewolf transformation marked a decisive break from tradition, abandoning the simple dissolves that had characterized werewolf transformations since 1941's The Wolfman. Instead, Bottin created a series of grotesque, tactile transformations that showed every agonizing detail of human flesh reshaping itself into lupine form. The film's signature transformation sequence, Eddie Quist's metamorphosis, became an instant classic of body horror. Through a combination of pneumatic bladders, carefully engineered rubber applications, and innovative mechanical rigs, Bottin achieved transformations that appeared simultaneously balletic and grotesque. The sequence took nearly a week to film, with each phase meticulously crafted to create a seamless illusion of biological horror. Bottin's innovations lay in their physicality. He developed new materials, including highly elastic compounds that could be pulled and distorted while supporting a flesh-like appearance. This was a full-body transformation. This technical achievement would influence special effects for decades to come.
The freedom I had on the picture was really great because I was hired by, Joe Dante and Mike Fennell, the producer and the director, and they basically let me do whatever I want to, and that's really rare in this situation because I'm only 21, and who's going to, trust a 21-year-old to pull off these big, effects in this movie that's supposed to be really good? And they came to me and showed me the script, and in the script it just says, Eddie changes into a werewolf. And I said, well, usually in scripts you have a description of what happens and the director has a very precise idea of what is going to happen, but Joe and Mike know me. So they said, do whatever you want to do as long as it's good.
Dante's tone through the movie is unique, where satire and menace could take up the same shot. The movie constantly winks at horror history without breaking the spell. There are in-jokes and cameos for the initiated. Forrest J. Ackerman appears clutching a famous Monsters magazine. Dick Miller plays a bookstore owner named Walter Paisley, a cult character name he's carried across films. Filmmaker Roger Corman appears as a man outside a phone booth, and screenwriter John Sayles makes a cameo as a morgue attendant. Even some character names echo old horror directors, like Earl Kenton and Fred Francis. The result is layered, a creature feature, a media satire, and a sly nod to horror's past. That confident genre mixing, self-aware but still deadly serious, prefigures later meta-horror and social horror without deflating the scares. Pino Donaggio's haunting score wove together orchestral tension and primal soundscapes, carrying audiences through moments of creeping dread to explosive violence. Known for his work with Brian De Palma, Donaggio crafted music that supported the film's delicate balance between psychological thriller and supernatural horror. His score complemented both the film's quieter, character-driven moments and its spectacular transformation sequences, helping to bridge the gap between human drama and monstrous horror. The Howling was released on March 13, 1981, entering theaters during a renaissance of werewolf cinema. The film's initial box office performance was profitable, earning $17.9 million. against a budget of approximately $1.5 million. Critics praised the film's innovative special effects and dark humor, though some found its blend of horror and satire jarring. Variety praised the film's technical achievements, while noting its departure from traditional werewolf mythology. The Los Angeles Times highlighted Dee Wallace's performance and the film's clever media critique. The timing of the film's release proved significant, arriving before an American werewolf in London.
You're one of the undead.
The Howling set new standards for transformation effects that even its contemporaries would have to measure up to. The film's success helped secure Avco Embassy Pictures' position in the horror market and contributed to Joe Dante's rising status in Hollywood, leading to his selection as director for the Christmas nightmare Gremlins. Despite spawning 7 sequels, none achieved the same acclaim of the original. However, the film's theatrical run was just the beginning of its influence. Through home video and cable television, The Howling found a devoted audience that continues to appreciate its place in horror movie culture. The film's impact extended beyond its immediate release. Rob Bottin's career soared following The Howling, leading to legendary effects work in John Carpenter's The Thing, and later achievements in films like RoboCop and Total Recall.
Your classic werewolf can change shape anytime it wants, day and night, whenever it takes a notion to.
Over 40 years later, The Howling remains startlingly relevant. Through Dee Wallace's powerful performance, we witness the psychological aftermath of assault, complete with PTSD symptoms.
I really hadn't figured out quite yet how to be the character and then not be the character when they said cut. And so I sort of kind of was her for 6 weeks.
The film's critique of media sensationalism feels particularly relevant in our age of 24-hour news cycles and viral content. You can feel The Howling's influence beyond werewolf films. Its idea that trauma drives the monster shows up in films like The Babadook and Possum. Different creatures, same psychological engine.
You can bring me the boy.
Its tactile transformations help keep practical effects credible long after CGI arrived. Guillermo del Toro has often said he prefers physical methods when he wants something to feel tangible.
Digital effects now allow the audience to think everything is digital bullshit. And that is a tragedy.
And Robert Eggers has emphasized minimal CGI and in-camera trickery for texture and believability. In its dark forest setting, among its grim-like cottages, and beneath its dense canopies, The Howling continues to explore timeless questions about human nature, society, and the beasts that lurk within us all. Beasts that we never truly learn to tame. The Howling forever changed how cinema depicts the transformation of humanity into something both terrifying and darkly liberating.
Even a man who is pure in heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright.